Just a few seconds.
Okay.
Thank you for your patience. I'll be right there. Awesome. We have a full house. Great. Okay, all set.
Okay. The Citizens Ad Hoc Committee meeting is being called to order at 5:40 p.m. Thank you all for joining us tonight. This meeting, just so you know, will probably not take us as long as our regular scheduled meetings have been taking us. We're just going to go through where we are right now, talk about what the public hearing recommendations are, do an overview of recommendations in the process for the hearing, approval of minutes, review of public comments that are out there, and then we'll have a final discussion and outline next steps. Sound good to everybody? Okay. So let's go over the public hearing, the overview of the committee's recommendations and process, just so that the community knows exactly how we got here. So there were committee members. We were chosen from recommendations made by the Board of Education members and the Jefferson school community. The committee was established by the board and began meeting in May of 2022. The committee is recommending 4 naming proposals to the board in order of Esting Hemmings Jefferson, Ezekiel Gillespie, Sally Hemmings, and Maya Angelou. The committee will have a final discussion following the public hearing and the review of all public input submitted to date. Next steps in the process will be for the Board of Education to take up the matter at a January 9th instruction work group meeting and a February 13th operations work group meeting. All the board meetings will provide further opportunities for public input, both in person and virtually. The final vote will be taken by the Board of Education at its regular meeting on February 27th of 2023 in person at Jefferson Middle School. Written registrants for this meeting have been added to the agenda in board docs, and then each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the committee members. There is no dialogue. Thank you all for your participation in this important decision regarding Jefferson Middle School. And after this meeting today, this will be the last time we meet as a group as far as this goes. So our work will be done here. So congratulations to you. Thank you so much for all the time. Let's see, Barb, is there something that I missed?
Hope that's good. We can move on to 2.2.
Okay.
I would like everybody to turn on their video, please.
Okay.
Everybody who can, please turn on your video. If you are a member of the committee, the community should be able to see you. Thank you. So I have a kind of a piece of bad news. We do not have any written registrations, and we do not have any public appearance registrants signed up. The written registrations were opened up on Friday and have been opened up until probably about 5 o'clock today. I also turned on the portal to sign up people to speak at noon today and didn't close it down until about 5:10. I do want to review with you the way that we worked to get word out on this public hearing. We did send an email to Jefferson families, students, and staff. The website news post featured on all schools' website homepages. Everything was translated into Spanish and Hmong. The website is auto-translated, and we don't translate social media posts. It went out in the Jefferson newsletter in the 12/2 edition. It did go out via the district social media, Facebook and Twitter, and Jefferson's Facebook. And the district family newsletter, it went out in there also on the 2nd, email to all district families and staff. And the Jefferson renaming webpage was also updated to include information on this public hearing and on the 4 names that remain. So those are the efforts that we put into trying to let people know to access you at this meeting. So I'm kind of surprised by that, but we do have other opportunities for public input as the process moves along, and I'll talk about that later in the meeting. If there are no questions on that item, I think we can move to item 3.1.
Okay, and item 3.1 is our approval of the minutes from November 22nd. I just need a motion to approve those minutes and a second.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting. I can't remember the date.
It was November 22nd.
November 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
Emily seconds.
Emily second. Thank you. All those in, first of all, is there any discussion that needs to happen? Okay, all those in favor of those meeting minutes being approved, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. There being none, meetings minutes carry, that motion carries. So thank you for that. And then Barb is going to go over, well, we didn't have any public comments today, except for what had already been in the system on the website to date. Is that right, Barb?
Right, so I do want to show you so that everybody can see that we did from the web page, the public input on there. There were 5 new submissions, so I'm going to scroll down to those. And I'll just
Those were recent. Okay.
a little bit. The most recent, yes. So yes, we do have the updated report out there, posted on board docs. Anybody can look at it whenever they want to, but yes, we just had 5 new submissions since then, and they just scrolled through them.
Okay. Next would be, do y'all have comments or questions about those? We can move on. Are you good? Okay, you all have seen the research that we've conducted on all the proposed names up until date, and that is still there if you wanted to go back and review that. And now it's just us if there's any final discussion around the naming proposals that we currently have. Does everybody feel like in the order that I just read those names out that we want to keep it as is? Is there any other discussion or comments or concerns about those names before we move forward with them? Or are you still feeling the same way we were on the 22nd? Thumbs up.
I wasn't there on the 22nd.
Oh, you weren't, Maxine, that's right.
So if somebody can just give me the Cliff Notes version of how we got to these 4 people. And I think I'm also have a question around the order that they are in now. Is it just that we're forwarding the top 4, or is it that they are in order of preference from like the 1st to the 4th?
Okay, so let me go back. So when we had the meeting on the 22nd, we actually used a tool to grade all the paper. And what ended up happening is this is the order that they came out in that tool. And so we felt like because it was, even though some of the scores were the same or lower, the way they came out and the way we voted on them, this is the order that we wanted to present them because that's the way they came out in the tool. It was a very good meeting. I think there was a lot of discussion about how we were going to use the tool, if it was the right tool. And then ultimately we decided that, yes, we could move forward with what we saw there. There were a lot of questions around whether we should get that number lower than 4 But according to the process, we can submit 4 names to the board. And so we felt like, let's leave it at the 4 and then let the public have their say, and let the next pieces of the puzzle fall into place. Is that a good synopsis, everybody? Am I missing something? Okay.
That's perfect. The only thing I would add is that the tool was a ranking tool.
Yes.
So it used it to rank it in that order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that, Soli.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I remember we had gotten introduced to that tool much earlier, and we didn't get a chance to use it until last meeting, which my apologies for not being able to be there. I did want to say something about Easton Hemmons Jefferson. Maybe there already was a conversation, and so if I'm out here saying what was already said, my apologies. But what I do want to lift up around that is, from the proposals that we received, a major claim in many of them was that that name would be a reclamation of someone who was a Jefferson descendant, but was actually a Black person, and would be kind of a reclamation of the space through a Black Jeffersonian. And I think that's a really interesting claim, because as the research suggests that we actually received as part of this committee, he actually didn't seem to identify as a Black person and actually lived his life as a white person, and truncated his name to be Easton H. Jefferson, erasing Sally Hemmons' lineage from his name. So it disturbs me a little bit that that is the seemingly one of the top 4, possibly the second choice among our group. And maybe there was some discussion about that, and I'm wondering what that discussion might have been. Maybe Emily has something to say to that.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it up, Maxine. I actually had a very similar perspective on it as you. Wait, I'm gonna lower my hand first. Sorry. I also kind of felt the same way with Sally Hemmings. I think I understand the initial trying to reclaim it, but I feel like when we are pushing Eston or pushing Sally Hemmings, it still kind of feels like it all is still because we're trying, whether we're not trying to or not, we are kind of still censoring Thomas Jefferson in a way, which is a little bit, which I think isn't the exact intention of us, which is why I'm a bit more of a fan of Ezekiel Gillespie, because I think he stands on his own for his incredible civil rights leadership. And I kind of feel a little bit uncomfortable with Sally Hemmings, because I think it's like really, I think the concept is really empowering, but given the way that she was, the clear power imbalance between her and Thomas Jefferson, and as you could see in like that public comment earlier, like her mistreatment even now, it kind of, this is just my personal opinion, and please let me know your thoughts. It kind of feels like the wrong thing to highlight. Those are my thoughts. I just kind of wanted to, I really appreciate you bringing this up for discussion.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily and Maxine. Rigoberto? We can't hear you. No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I'm having issues with my home computer. So thank you for bringing that up, because I have the summary or the proposal by Ronnie Hess, which we voted on to adopt. And he brings up, Ronnie, I'm assuming gender there, I apologize for that. Ronnie L. Hess is saying, addresses your concern about the idea of passing, I think is what you're talking about. But Ronnie Hess says that the name change would underscore, and in parentheses, and help teach students about the repugnant and complicated history of slavery in America, while also honoring the struggles and achievements of the Eston Hemmings Jefferson family. And as a teacher, I would, if I were at a middle school named after this person and his ancestors, I think that would be a great opportunity to teach about that complicated history and just this whole renaming process, why we're going through all of this. And so I'm just pointing out something that was in the proposal. And the proposal for Sally Hemings by Catherine Van Warmer points out that to name for the school for this woman who bore his children, Jefferson's children, restore some of the history, I'm paraphrasing, which is fascinating, recorded in historical documents published in Madison. So this, I think, my idea with voting for Eston Hemings Jefferson is that it would capture not just Sally's, but also Eston's and his further ancestors as part of the name for the middle school. So I'm just quoting from.
Yeah, I
But I
appreciate.
understand your concern about that too.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up and bringing us deeply back into the proposal that was forwarded. I think my concern is really twofold. One is we would have to agree with the argument that's being made in that proposal, that is a reclamation, which I am saying I do not. And relative to your own thinking around how one might teach around this, and I fully believe in teaching complicated histories. And I fully believe in talking about the complications. And the complication with this for me is that Eston Hemings Jefferson didn't live his life as a Black man, nor did his descendants. So I'm not really sure what kind of reclamation is being done in that way, because they lived their lives as white people. And so what's the reclamation happening there? I'm not sure. I would be more amenable to a Sally Hemings, who I do think is a person who, you know, was mistreated, misrepresented, mischaracterized, and deserves to be uplifted for the work that she did. And I appreciate the complexity of passing. I appreciate the complexity of colorism. I'm talking to you as a light-skinned Black woman. I'm very clear about most of these things and what racial ambiguity means for lives. That said, and I'm very well versed in what that person might have had to experience, Eston Hemings and his family at that time in our country's history. That said, I don't know that naming the school is reclaiming a history or righting a wrong or being in right relation with something in a way that reflects the intention of the creation of this committee.
Mm.
And I don't think personally that every teacher is going to understand all of the complexities and layers that you're speaking to, Rigoberto, and bring that into their conversation. To me, it seems like a way, as I think Emily was beautifully communicating, of kind of keeping the name Jefferson and possibly not complicating it any further.
And can I just add to, because I think this is really good conversation. And I don't know how much I'm supposed to add at being the chair, but I will say that when I think about the 4 names that we're pushing forward, I think it needs to be very clear to the board that the ranking tool this is the way they came out in the ranking. It's not necessarily the way we would put all these names forward in an order. And I really do think that has to be very clear so that it's not misconstrued that we've decided on this one because it ranked at the top. That's not how this has been. So I need that. I want that to be very clear.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Emily, and then Antigone.
Cool. Yeah, I think that this discussion is really productive. And one thing I hope we can take away from this is, I think renaming Jefferson Middle School is a really great step that we're already taking. And no matter what the board decides on in February or such, I know that it is really important to use this as a learning experience for people in the community, for students, and it's really valuable. But and in the end, it's not up to any of us exactly. But if it does end up being Eston Hemings Jefferson, or if it ends up being any of the other options, I would hope that we can still communicate like the history of, Jefferson's family, even if they aren't included in the namesake officially, just because Thomas Jefferson is what it's named after right now. And there is still this complex and kind of confusing, but really important history that we should share. So it's like, I don't think that the school needs to be named after one of these people just for us to learn about it. I think no matter what, it's really valuable insight to share to people.
It's awesome, Emily. Antigone?
Yeah, I think one thought I had was that I appreciate using the ranking tool, but I think we need to caution it a little bit because we are a very small group to use a ranking tool like that. I mean, to use ranked choice voting like that, is generally made for like a much bigger voting pool than 12 people or 8 people, however many we had that voted. So I think as we saw last meeting, it gets very convoluted as to like, there was never any one vast majority for one name. So, so I think I feel a little bit uncomfortable proposing to the board that we put these names in order, because I think that's very nuanced. And I think it could have easily been a different order. And then the second point I had was that as far as these names, one of the kind of things that sticks in my head is the importance of the individual that we're naming these after to the community or to the state. And I think for me, I think Eston Hemmings, yes, he lived here for a little while. His family lived here for a little while. And I think the researcher brought this up a little bit in one of our past meetings, is that it's not clear that it was that there was a real profound, kind of lasting heritage or whatever you want to say, lasting impact on the Madison community. Other than maybe as Maxine mentioned before, like it kind of in relation to Thomas Jefferson. For me, Gillespie, on the other hand, I think is a really interesting individual that I had never heard his name, but, has an amazing history with the state and a lot to kind of discover and, bring to light and kind of promote for a really interesting Wisconsin individual. So that was it.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something if I can. I totally agree. And I'm glad that us as a committee, I think we've been very thoughtful about this, and I'm glad that we paused and we came back and have been working on this. So I'm very happy to have been a part of this process. So I appreciate that. And I am happy with any of the 4 that I think our group came up with. Ezekiel Gillespie is also one of my top ones. And so I'm not saying I'm all for Eston Hemmings Jefferson, but as a middle school teacher, as a US history teacher, to me, I see so much potential in capturing and talking about all those issues and all those complexities, and like, it's hard. And so I would love to be a part of a school that has that kind of as part of their, but I agree that maybe not all teachers do that. And so any of the 4, and I agree, okay, we don't have to submit to the board any specific ranking. We could do it alphabetically or something like that. But yeah, I think we came up with 4 good names. I picked the 2 that have top 2 that have local connection, and just that's partially why. But I am telling you why, as a teacher, why I voted Eston Hemmings Jefferson 1. But I also really, really admire Ezekiel Gillespie, and I didn't know anything about him either. So that was awesome to be part of this process. So thank you.
Anyone else? Soli?
Thank you, everyone. I totally agree with all of you and all your words. I love it that you're speaking about it now. it's been long coming. I wanted this conversation to happen last time we met. I think they're all four great names that we came up with, and I love that we left four. I will say that I've been with Race and Equity, and we've been talking about this at Jefferson for over 5 years. And every time it came up, those points that Rigoberto just made was right on the money with what Race and Equity was talking about when it came to Essen Hemmings, when it came to Sally Hemmings. And it was more about, even though it's uncomfortable and some teachers choose not to say the story, to say the story and to teach the history that needs to be. Our children don't know this. Our students don't know any of the history. And I agree with Emily too, that whatever name is chosen, I think it should be taught. And I thank you all. That's it.
So where do we go from here, group? Are we satisfied with what we have right now in passing it forward? Are we passing it forward in a different way? Not looking necessarily at the ranking tool order? Are we doing that? How are we presenting? Because I think there are some very good points. All of the points were really good. And I think there may be a little bit of hesitation in what we have to push forward. And we would need to rectify that tonight, because this will be the last time we're meeting. So and we're open to whatever as a group you all come up with. You know, I just want to hear from you all and see how we, you know, somebody would need to make a motion for us to do something different, for us to have a little more discussion. And we're open to that. I want this to be the right thing for us as a group.
Can I, since again, I wasn't there last week, and again, my apologies. I just want to clarify what the conversation was when the ranking tool was used, so that we honor what was previously discussed. Was it discussed that the ranking tool was going to be used and we were going to just forward those names in that order? Or was it discussed that there would be an opportunity to do something else? Because I want to honor what people had.
Yeah, so the ranking tool gave us the order in which they came out, and the group decided that we would just present them in the order, not try to mix them up or whatever, just send them just like they came out in the ranking tool. But again, I go back to my comment in that I want to honor that too. However, I also want the board to understand that it's the way it came out in the ranking tool, not necessarily the way we would have seen it in ranking as a group. We didn't go back and say, okay, do we want to, based off of the number that the score that they originally had, we put them in that order, because we could have done that too. We didn't do that, which would have mixed them up a little bit more too, I think. Am I right, Barb? That would have changed their order if we had used the number system that we had, correct? Based off of the original. Barb, are you there?
Well, yes, I'm here. I'm trying to
Trying to
make
see.
sure that I understand your question before
Yeah.
I respond. So the ranking tool went ahead and did 3 rounds.
Yeah.
On its own. Okay, so the first time that it went through, it read everybody's, it took into account everyone's top 5.
Mhm.
And it did what it does automatically. And we only used the first round results, as you know, because everybody was happy with how it came out.
Mhm.
So to do it again, if you were going to do it again, you would do it fresh every single time and disregard the computer or the tool doing what it did in rounds 2 and 3.
Mhm.
So in any case, your conversation here, can you have the ability to change the way that these are presented to the board if you want. So the tool is just a tool. That's what it is. It's a tool to get you where you want to be in the end. But the conversation that you have and the final motions that you make are what goes forward.
And Barb, I guess my question was based off of the way the ranking tool rank these individuals, if we took that information against the number tool that each one of them got, would that change how they are presented based off of the highest number to the lowest number? That's what I'm asking. That would change them, wouldn't it?
No, because the system took into account everybody's rank, period. So
Okay.
I think
Oh,
the numbers
okay, I see what you
stay
mean.
the
Okay.
same.
Okay,
That's what it does.
okay. Emily?
Please let me know if this is a feasible option. Don't worry if this is too out of the stretch, but I do remember when we were voting last time, you know, we were voting on more than just these 4 that we came out with. And right now we do have like kind of a ranked like proposal. And I personally think that the ranking concept is really useful because we do, especially after this conversation, I do think that we have different like nuances to each of the names. But it's kind of but I think that the ranking before it is accurate, but maybe we can make it more accurate by now having all of us only with these 4, we can rank them again, just on what options we already have. So we can solidify these names, but maybe propose a new ranking that is very currently accurate, because now we can just focus on what is in front of us that we know will present.
So out of the 4 is what you're saying, to re-rank them based off of the 4.
I mean, if we're proposing them to the board, 4 names, they're gonna make their decision. And we're telling them, this is just the way they came out. We're not telling them it's in any order of our favorite. It's just the way they came out. What use is that to rank them? Because then we're gonna go back to the board and tell them, okay, this is our favorite, this. We're gonna just basically do the same thing. We voted again, and this is the way the ranking tool ranked them.
And it's still gonna be the same 4 is
It's
what you're
gonna be
saying.
the same 4.
Mhm.
I think we need to move on.
So,
Rigoberto? Wait a minute, Maxine.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm thankfully not used to Zoom. I would suggest, I think we have a good 4. I think we did the work the last time. I know we went through a lot of process. I would suggest and maybe make a motion that we just submit them in alphabetical order by either first name or last name or wherever we decide. So the board just kind of looks at them equally and on their own merits based on the proposals provided by the community. Because I think we've already gone through the part of going through the proposals and the community input and all that. And so to me, I think we've done our due diligence. We could do more if as a team we need to, but I would suggest we just give them the names in first or last name order, non-ranked, because that was our ranking. I made the motion to keep it ranked for our purposes because I knew we were having this meeting. But at this point, I think let's give the names as they are, because that's what we chose as a committee to the board. That's what I'm suggesting.
Thank you. Maxine and then Veronica.
Veronica can go first. She had her hand raised first.
Veronica?
Yes, I just wanted to say I agree with Rigoberto and solely that we've already done the 4, and maybe alphabetical will kind of get rid of will make more anonymity between the choices, so we're not having to put a ranking on anything and truly give them a clean slate to go off of. We've already done the due diligence, and I feel like we keep having a cyclical conversation about it. I think we have the 4. We should go with that 4, and I like the alphabetical order so that we can make sure that it's anonymous in a sense, and not so much our input, but the 4 is our input. Let them take it from there.
Let's see. Thank you, Veronica.
Yeah, I like that approach as well. I think my concern initially with the ranking is that it comes with a numeric, which suggests that we liked one more than the other. And the alphabetizing it and putting forward 4 names, I think will allay that concern. Hopefully Emily feels the same way too. I think that's what Emily's proposal was trying to do, was trying to get rid of that ranking that does, if people see numbers, they're like, oh, well, this is the top choice. It's just really hard to move from that place. I tell you, I teach math teachers. I get this piece. And I also think that the board will have access to our conversations.
Yeah.
So they can also hear our discussions as well.
Mhm. So do we have a motion? Rigoberto, can you do your
I'll
motion
make a
one more
motion.
time?
Okay.
I can make a motion, but I want to hear from you. Do we want to do by first name or last name? Because some have multiple last names. So those are some questions that I would say by first last name. I don't know what that means. I'm Mexican. My name says Rigoberto Gallegos, but I'm also Mendoza. So I have 2. So I don't know how we want to do that. So it's a little complicated. Because
I
one
say go
person has
by-
2.
I say go by first name, like the way, if it's Ernest Timmons and it's E, if it's Rigoberto Elementary, then we go there, whatever.
All
The
right.
name as it's written.
Should I make that motion then? Do you guys? Okay. I move that we rank the proposed names for Jefferson Middle School by first name and present it to the board in that order.
Do we have discussion around that? Maxine?
I think he meant that we list them, not rank them in that way.
No,
Oh,
we
sorry.
listen.
Okay. Can you change that in the wording? I'm not used to Robert's rules.
No,
of
that's
order.
okay.
Yeah, thank you. That's fine.
Okay, and if there's no discussion, all those in favor?
I need a second.
Okay. Oh, yep, you do need a second. Sorry, I'm ready to vote. Second that motion. Who second?
Veronica.
Veronica second.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. That motion is carried, so thank you. And again, thank you all for the hard, this has been a hard, long journey, but it's good. Like, this, again, it's a learning opportunity for all of us and this community as they go forward and we hear about what that name actually is going to be. What are we going to do with what we've learned in this process? And everybody else who's listened and followed along with us, what are we going to do as a community with it? Now I just need a motion. If there's nothing else, Barb, do you have something else?
I do. I just wanted to clarify what the next steps are for sure.
Okay.
Sure everyone knows. So that's item 7 on the agenda. I put some notes in there about where it goes now. So January 9th, instruction work group, February 13, operations work group, and then a vote on February 27th at the school. This will be in person at Jefferson. And it's the board's regular meeting. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. The 2 co-chairs will be there to represent this group, to respond to questions, to give a little bit of an update on what the committee did, the work, and then the board will take the discussion from there. So they have a lot of time to do that, obviously, and there will be other opportunities for public input at those meetings as well. But we will, send out communications to the Jefferson community for sure about these dates and about the names and the order that you just proposed to put them in.
Anything else from anyone else? Now I just need a motion to adjourn.
Can I thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for being part of this process and the people that you are and the timing of the year for this and sickness and everything else. We so appreciate all of you very, very much and take your feedback to heart. So thank you very much on behalf of the Jefferson community and the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb, for
Thank
keeping us
you.
all together.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's been an honor being part of this process. So I'm glad to meet all of you, at least via Zoom.
Yes.
Awesome. You won't forget each other, I guarantee you. Thank you.
Okay, now that motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
And a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.